Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
SolarWinds.com/locker.
SolarWinds.com/LockerGnome is where you can download the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer for free
That's
and
right.
and
That's
start
right.
monitoring your network traffic. Even on a home network, if you don't know what packets are flying where and whatnot, it's a good way to find out where everything's going with the least amount of geekitude in between.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about NetFlow is, generally speaking, to analyze packets on the network, you really got to have some sort of a protocol analyzer or a probe in line between your workstation or your laptop and the endpoint or the internet gateway, for instance. And so, in a lot of companies or in a lot of situations, you may not have access to that type of a connection. And so the cool thing about NetFlow is the routers already have built inside of them basically some sort of a probe. It's a NetFlow engine. And since the router is already watching traffic go from one interface to the other, it's basically just sort of looking down at that packed traffic as it goes by and keeping records of who's doing what on the network. Who's playing World of Warcraft or watching YouTube, and packets going in and out, and then that data is exported to a NetFlow collector, like our new free tool, the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer.
Is that the SNMP that I keep seeing every time I go into my router?
Well, it's a little bit different actually. So SNMP is used to pull the router to get statistics on health, like CPU and memory, and also on general traffic usage. So SNMP would tell you that 99% of the available bandwidth on your internet connection is being used, and well, downloads are going slow, it's all really busy. What NetFlow tells you is, okay, of that 99% in use, well, who's doing what? What applications are in use, what protocols, who's browsing the web, which endpoints, where are they going. And so you can see some pretty cool things. You can actually go to our online demo server over at solarwinds.com and see a real-time NetFlow tool in action as it's analyzing traffic. And you can see, their users, especially during lunchtime, you'll see the YouTube traffic spike way up high. You might see some of the engineers playing World of Warcraft. You might see that there's a group of guys in China that every few weeks try to hack into our firewall. You can see their traffic coming in.
Ooh.
There's all kinds of cool things that you see when you really look at all the traffic flows and all the different conversations going out the network.
So this is built for networks of a certain amount of machines or an indefinite amount of machines, or what's the exact target
Well,
range?
yeah, I mean, it can work on a network with any size of machines or any number of machines. But really, for technology like NetFlow, it's going to be the business class routers and switches that support that technology. So if you got a small Linksys router, maybe you bought it at CompUSA or Best Buy, something like that, it probably won't support this type of monitoring. If you have, even a low-end Cisco router like a 2950 or something like that, then it most likely will. And some of the newer higher-end switches and routers do, not to totally geek out on you, but not only do they do layer 3 traffic, they do layer 2 traffic, which means you can see traffic that's not only routed across the internet or across main connections, but you can see server-to-server traffic on a local area network. And that can become really important anytime you have a lot of virtual servers deployed, or anytime you have a lot of server-to-server traffic. Seeing that layer 2 traffic can be really key in diagnosing network issues that you have.
Well, I know that I had at least one point. I've only had one Cisco product, but then I think they pushed it down into the Linksys brand. Although now Linksys
Uh-huh.
they have a sticker that came. In fact, I just got a gigabit switch yesterday. It's got a sticker saying they've got like a trade up program, so that when you're ready to move up, you can. And I remember that experience. I was kind of overwhelmed with the amount of control that I had. I mean, even on my home network, I run
Yeah,
into issues,
absolutely.
and the more troubleshooting tools that I have at my disposal, the easier it is for me to figure out what's going on and where. And more importantly, I don't have to ask people who are on the network, because on average, I'll have 3 people on my home network. I don't have to ask. Well, of course, it's different in businesses and
Right,
enterprise and what have you.
right.
Sorry if you can't see me. My webcam was pointed off into the distance. The you know, just without having to ask, okay, which one of you guys is downloading a Linux distribution, or who's watching Hulu. I would know right away, having the better analysis tools at my right there, just easy to use.
Yeah, well, not only that, but you may have traffic being generated from your network that none of your users know about. You may have picked up a malware program or a virus or something, or there may have been someone who's hacked in through your firewall and they're accessing files on your system without your knowledge. And so it's always amazing sometimes to actually see a lot of detail about the traffic leaving your machine or your home or your office and where it's going. And we can also sort it out, by country, by address range, and so it's a pretty cool thing to be able to see that detail, especially in an environment where, as a network administrator, you may be trying to troubleshoot a user problem that's many, many miles away from you. I'm in Austin, Texas, but if a user calls me and says, "Hey, I'm in my New York office and I'm having some problems with voice over IP. It seems kind of choppy." I'm not in New York, and so for me to be able to see the details of the traffic from his site outward, it's really, really helpful. And without technologies like NetFlow, you'd have to do it with a probe, which means you have to manage additional hardware, and it's more complex. This is, effectively one of the truly free software applications out there, because the routers they've already paid for support the technology, and then our free tool enables you to actually leverage it.
To
And
use
so
it.
there is no investment required to start taking advantage of this cool technology.
It's funny. It's almost well, to draw an indirect correlation, but somewhat applicable. Like the Sony PSP, it's got great hardware and a great system, but you almost need to buy third-party software to make it useful on the desktop. So in much the same
That's
way,
exactly right.
you're
It's a very,
complementing
yeah.
you're complementing the hardware, and your support. How many devices do you support, like, out of the box with this
Well,
one?
so any of the Cisco devices that support NetFlow, we support out of the box. Now, we also have within our Orion product suite, which are more enterprise style applications or enterprise class applications, we support other types of flow analysis. So, really, any enterprise class hardware, whether it's a Cisco router or switch, or Foundry or Juniper or Extreme, we're going to support all those different technologies natively. And yes, something we do differently here at SolarWinds, that we have, you know, over 60,000 paying customers and over 1 million active users. So we really can't afford to make products that are real specialized. We try to serve products that meet everyone's need and meet every vendor's hardware requirements, because we want to sell lots and lots of software to lots of different people, regardless of whether they use Cisco or Juniper or Stream or Foundry or just whatever they decide to use. We want to support that out of the box.
Well, I'm looking back at the chat room, and the problem with talking about network stuff is that people, when they're learning about it, they just don't say anything. So I'm watching. I keep turning back looking for questions, but we've got the link in there where people can download the tool. I think lockergnome.com/solarwinds, and then we've got the videos there too. The other videos that we've done, and the
Yeah.
continual series of interviews and whatnot. When it comes to network traffic, just for the average, or let's say for the newer system administrator or network administrator, what are some of the things that they should be watching out for more than anything else? I mean, when you first jump right in, I'm not talking about weathered admins. I'm talking more about I just kind of got roped into this position. I don't know what to do. What do I look for? Like with the
Yeah, well,
traffic coming in and out.
yeah, it's a great question, and I get asked that a lot actually, because in many companies, the network administrator is someone who didn't set out to do that as a career. I mean, I've met public school librarians that are now the network administrator, and they've just been saddled with such a responsibility. Or you may be a system administrator and you're used to working with Windows servers and Active Directory and Exchange, and suddenly now you have to maintain the network as well. I would tell you that the first thing to keep in mind is that you need to be able to use some sort of SNMP based tool like our tool set to monitor the amount of traffic going in and out. Because as long as you're not oversubscribing your use, then it's not so important on how you're using it. If you had more money than you could spend, you'd never worry about a budget, right? So it's a matter of understanding when you start to reach a threshold where you need to start budgeting that bandwidth. Now, once you've reached that threshold, which in nowadays happens really, really quickly, because people are using the internet for lots and lots of different things that they weren't doing a few years ago. A few years ago, if you could hit Google and send email, the internet pretty much seemed reliable. But now we're using it for Skype and for calls and for video conferencing and all these different things. And so the bandwidth requirements have gone way, way up. Once you've done that, the first key is to be sure that you have some hardware that really is manageable and that will enable you to grow as your company's needs grow. And I would encourage you to, for not you, but these administrators out there we're talking about, I would encourage them to evaluate the manageability of that hardware as a part of the process of acquiring it. Use a free tool like ours, the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer. There's lots of other free tools at SolarWinds.com. Go download them, check them out, and try them, and test that hardware. Because if you invest in a piece of infrastructure that isn't very manageable, then suddenly you have no visibility into what's going on. And when someone calls you with a problem, it's a lot harder to troubleshoot those issues manually than by using free tools like ours that leverage best-in-class technology.
I think we've got. It was just a brief question. You answered it partially, but there's a specific vendor. As it says, Westel.
Yeah, so with your life with Westel, what you'll just want to do is go to their website and see if they support either NetFlow or SFlow. Those are the two key flow types you'll want to look for on their site. And a lot of the vendors do. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. You can still use a tool set and gather S&MP statistics and see how much bandwidth is in use. And for the most part, in a small office or a home office, understanding how much is in use is really where to start. Like you mentioned, your house, there's 3 computers, 3 users primarily, and if bandwidth utilization is through the roof, you go say, hey, who's using all the bandwidth, and it's easy to solve, right? And so that's the first need. If you decide that you really need to be, budgeting your bandwidth tightly, then you need to focus on probably a more manageable piece of equipment.
So the NetFlow Traffic Analyzer does monitor SNMP, or is there another tool that you guys do or make that does?
Yeah, so for doing SNMP type monitoring, there are several tools available on the website. I would start with the engineer's tool set, and you can download a free 30-day trial right from the website. And a lot of people continue to use that, over the years. It has 49 different applications in it
Whoa.
for troubleshooting and monitoring. And it's a really good way to sort of get started with doing network monitoring and network management. And some of the tools in that tool set will continue to work because they're free tools. So, I would start there, download that, and try it out. And it would give you a really sort of a good leg up on getting started as a network administrator. And a lot of people that are just getting started and maybe they're working toward their first, Cisco certification or something like that, they like to use the tool set because it really sort of magnifies their expertise to the rest of their community there.
Well, I get a lot of questions about certification. Like, is it worth it? I'm like, well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if you want to learn something. If there's anything to learn, it's going to be network, because it's going to be around almost indefinitely. I mean, I can't imagine the world without some kind of network. And inevitably, you could get roped into a position, whether that was something that you wanted to do or not, where you're going to need to know this stuff.
Yeah, it's technology you really need to know, and all the indicators that I've seen out there, and actually at Cisco's Networkers Live this year, which is a big trade show for network engineers. I got to present at the Cisco booth for a while and talk about technology. And actually, their CEO, John Chambers, was able to present at the same booth and talk a little bit about technology. And it was interesting because if you kind of summed up what we both spoke about, it was all about growth within the networking industry. And we're really just starting to leverage the new technologies that make the network so much in higher demand. I mean, Chris, you and I are pretty geeky, and we're sitting here over a video conference over the web doing this, but it's something that a lot of just typical users are now starting to do every day as part of their business. I have engineers working for me in Singapore, in Ireland, and I don't call them on the phone anymore. We do video conferences at night and chat. My son, who just turned 15, he's been doing this stuff for years, with all his friends all over the world. And so those types of things have a dramatic impact upon the user expectation of network performance and reliability. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg when you think about, online collaboration tools like the geeks at Pirillo.com that I saw on your website.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Jennifer
Checked it out, signed up.
Jennifer set that up. Yeah. She just set up a
I signed
group.
out of that yesterday and logged in. And so those types of sites, really started to make you think about how collaboration can work across the internet. And the internet is just one big network. So absolutely, it's technology that will continue to evolve and be in very high demand. I see a huge, demand in the industry for those types of people. When I go to recruit them here at SolarWinds, there's a big demand and they're hard to find. And so certifications are very, very important. The Cisco track is a great one to get started with. The Microsoft track is a good one as well. And so, definitely for people getting started in the industry, some of the study guides and books, even if you don't get certified, the subject matter that those programs enforce is really good data that you should start to take into account. And then also leverage community sites, like your site, like our community site, thwacker.com, all these different community sites that are out there with experts. And something that's true of most of the geeks I know, it seems like the geekier you get, the more you like to teach. It's probably an ego boost. I know it is for me, right? You like to talk about things you know. And so, there are experts out there on these sites that are just yearning to share what they know with junior administrators. And so don't feel like you're on your own. I can assure you that whatever problems you're seeing on your network, someone else has seen it before. And so leverage those communities, leverage free tools like the SolarWinds NetFlow Traffic Analyzer, and they can make your job a lot easier.
Well, I've actually been considering, I don't know where I could start on a home network, getting a router that could support these types of protocols, and specifically to try the network engineer, what is it, network engineer tool set?
That's right, the engineer's tool set.
Engineer's tool set. Just because it's like, wow, 39 tools, that's kind of hard to need to avoid. I mean, I don't know. I love the fact that, the applications that you have aren't just text. I mean, it's a very rich experience, and nothing helps me learn more than charts and graphs. I just love them. Love them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great tool set, and really, I always like to say that the engineer's tool set will make a good engineer look great and a great engineer look like a guru, because they really do sort of exponentially magnify your skill sets. And so, I don't go on site to a customer location to do a consulting gig or here at SolarWinds without the tool set, because it really makes it a lot easier to diagnose issues, to discover objects on the network, and to really start to just sort of understand the layout there in that environment.
We have a lot of questions that have been streaming into. Well, we've moderated chat because we've got like 300 people in there from all across the world. We moderated it, but I guess a few people have been asking if it's cross-platform. And no, I believe it's just Windows. Correct? It's built on
So it runs
.NET.
on a Windows box, but however, you can monitor any type of platform with it. So even if you're an organization that runs, Linux or Solaris servers or Mac OS, you can monitor all that with SolarWinds applications, but it requires a Windows OS to run. Now, a lot of people will run, their MacBooks and they'll run a Windows VM or something like that.
That's what I'm doing.
And so, that also works very, very well. But underneath, it's a Windows-based app.
Okay. Yeah, I was just I was getting everything configured, and that's why in the beginning I was asking about like what kind of hardware was supported. So I'm thinking, where could I start then? I'm like, I'd really like to just start playing with it, just to know what's on this network, what's coming in, what's going out. I mean, everything else is just kind of, for me, I mean, I am not, I mean, I used to be a command line geek, but I've turned more GUI over the years, so I need that kind of ease to be able to almost warm me back up to the cold command line interface.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Absolutely.
Another statement that was made from someone in the UK saying that there was more, I guess in the UK there's more network admin jobs than computer repair jobs now.
I can believe it. I mean, when we have a computer problem, usually it's a warranty deal. Most companies nowadays, we buy our stuff from Dell mostly, and for the first 3 years it's under warranty. You have a problem, you ship it back to them. I can't remember the last time a computer repairman actually came out to my home or my business. Well, I can remember actually. It was 1997, and so it was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But network administrators, I mean, it's a really, really key role. And we've been looking for some people here for a while, and they're in high demand. And I would tell you, it's a role that I don't think in a lifetime you're ever going to learn enough to learn everything. It changes so fast. It's a very dynamic role, and it's for people that like to geek out and learn new technology and get their hands dirty. It's a fun career to be in.
Another question, and I don't know if NetFlow can do this specifically, but it was asked, can it be set to give an alarm if one computer or device exceeds bandwidth, or send a message to a cell phone, text message?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So all of our applications do that. Now, the free tool doesn't do alerting like SMS messages, but the other tools do, absolutely.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I think we've covered this pretty well. I know that a lot of Windows users out there are probably going to be taking a look at this, specifically those that are going for certification or are network administrators, whether they are by trade or kind of forced to be that way. I had to point out the reason why I had my Darth Vader. One of my Darth Vaders is because Josh has got a Yoda here in the back. He's like, so I had to bring balance to the Force here since I collect Darth Vader stuff.
I think my Yoda will actually even talk
Will
to you.
yours talk?
More camp, you are going somewhere, are we?
So Yoda hangs out and helps whenever we have a really tough network problem here. So
I wish I had a Yoda like that. Let me tell you, I wish Darth did that. But unfortunately, all he does is this. He cuts people's air off by squeezing his fingers. So he's not much usage. He actually sucks bandwidth. He doesn't help fix the problems. Any other way. Well, thanks, Josh. Appreciate the time again to spend with you
problem,
and
man.
talking
Always
about
a
the
pleasure.
tools. Yeah, for sure. And again, you can find more information about the SolarWinds products and specifically the discounts that we have on the paid tools at solarwinds.com/lockernome. And as Josh mentioned, one of the people that work for SolarWinds is also a community member at our website, live.pirillo.com. And Jennifer set up on geeks.pirillo.com, which is the new community site that we kind of set up. She set up a SolarWinds group. So I guess there's kind of a community outreach. If you're a network administrator, or you kind of want to do some interplay there, Jennifer set that up, and we really appreciate you kind of embracing that part of our community, and certainly do appreciate the support that you've given network administrators the world over. So now you know where to go and you know where to find us. My email address is chris@pirillo.com. If you have any kind of network question, send it over to me. And maybe next time I talk to Josh, I'll be able to bring it up, especially if it's germane to a greater audience. Certainly be interested in taking a look. And as I mentioned, you're welcome to join us anytime. The live stream's going. The community's going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at live.pirillo.com. We'll see you later.